Underfunded.
Hey guys, how's it
What's
going?
up?
Welcome to Underfunded,
The first episode.
the very first one.
Oh, this is so exciting.
It's been a long time in the running, you guys.
So, yeah, this is our podcast. Aaron and I are two first-year college students. We are both majoring in acting.
We are.
We're actually placed in the same studio here at NYU.
That's very true.
In the same group. And yeah, that's how we met, and we have fun with each other.
Yeah, we were just having some sort of pretty early on in our friendship, we were just having some really interesting conversations, and we were talking a lot about how we have a very interesting perspective on things as far as like being people of like, I'd say average income families, and who made the move of coming to a very expensive city for college, which is something that costs a lot of money.
At a super expensive school, like one of the most expensive schools in the nation.
Really? Yeah, like
so
for real.
I think what we're sort of offering here is we know a lot of the kids our age. It's this whole idea of like moving to New York City or moving to Los Angeles, and that whole big dream and goal of like living that cool life. And I think we're getting a taste of that life now, and we just want to offer our perspectives in terms of like the city's so expensive and the school is so expensive, and we're out here trying to make things work on a below average income.
yeah, and both of us have a lot of cool projects that we're working on in the exterior of our studies and in the exterior of this podcast and this studio. And that's sort of like, I think this is a place, especially for me, where it's like kind of a journal in some ways, where I'm gonna come and sit down and sort of talk about like, this is what's going on, this is how things are working out, and it's also gonna be funny. We're gonna have a good time in here.
We're going as far as to calling this a comedy-based,
we're going very far
more
with
so
that.
philosophical podcast. These are some big claims coming from a couple of 18-year-olds. But no, I think it's gonna be a good time. We're not gonna particularly tell you how to manage your money.
Please
but
don't.
I think we're definitely offering just a younger perspective on like New York City and just a perspective that people don't usually talk about. We're getting real with it. We're just like, this is what's going on.
Yeah, but
it's not always as
that said, please DM us and email us your money questions. We'd be happy to help.
I think that would be a hilarious segment if we get actual questions on how to manage your money, like two broke kids talking about how to manage money.
Bro, maybe we'll do that someday.
Hilarious. So
maybe we'll do
send those in.
Maybe we'll do that.
But yeah, I mean that's more of who we are. That's what you can expect to see from this podcast. It's gonna grow and develop as we go along. You know, we're kind of just getting our footing right now. But we're looking to incorporate some segments. We have a couple of segments coming up
for
today.
Today.
We're excited about
some interesting stuff coming up.
Just to start, is there anything like just in general that you wanna talk about, speak to, in your mind?
I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm just like thinking about, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. We got a lot. We're coming towards the end of the first semester, which is insane to think about how long we've been here already. And I guess the only thing that I could really bring up right now is that I've been working on music again, which we'll get to towards the end.
Yeah.
And that's been super fulfilling. And I just put out a new project. And the other thing that's been really cool is I started journaling out of fucking nowhere.
Oh, really?
I just sat down at my desk and I was like, okay, I have a pencil and this notebook that I brought from home. Why the hell not? So I just started writing I literally just took notes. And
no, yeah, I actually tell me about that, because like obviously for those of you who don't know, Aaron takes notes in class constantly. Like on everything, and he has his own reasons for that, which he can speak to. Yeah. But I'm someone, so I journal. I've actually stopped as of lately. I've just been a little too busy, but I think it's something that like everyone should do, and everyone should like make time for. So have you never journaled before? Like, how's that been for you?
I've never really journaled before, and there's a complicated history with that. I have a learning difference called dysgraphia, which if you Google, you will come across a head trauma sort of side effect, and that's not really what I have. I've never been traumatized in the noggin.
Great. But I'm glad.
Now we know that. But I have a minor form, and that's sort of it's an inhibited something in my brain keeps me from connecting words that I may be thinking in my head to like on the page. So, like when I write something, sometimes what it's in my head is not quite what's communicated. So journaling and like writing in general has kind of been an issue for me, and like I've always felt like I can't communicate myself well enough, which is kind of the reason why I've enjoyed podcasts so much, is that it's a place where people like come to expound upon things that they're like maybe have written down, maybe not. But yeah, now I'm just giving it a shot, and I'm like doing my best, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense, and really it's like a place where I've stopped I don't read it, I just like put it down and then move on. Yeah. And that's, I don't know, we'll see what that does in the future.
I think what is good about journaling, and when I remember this, it makes me want to keep up with it more. My father said to me one time, like before I moved here to New York, he was like, you should just write every day in New York, like just what happened, like all of the little nuances from like where you ate to like who you hugged, and he was like, because because we just forget those things so quickly.
That's so cool.
And I thought, like, when I really thought about that, that's amazing. Like, I want to go back when I'm like 60 years old and look at my time in college and like know like how much I used to hug my mom, or like where I used to eat, what music I used to listen to, like what I used to do, like. And there's so many little things that you just forget, and so many moments where people make you feel good in the day that just like float by and you don't remember them anymore because our brain is always constantly storing new information. So like, I think that's great to like have this mini time capsule of our lives. I really encourage everyone to journal. I think like sometimes it's hard to write every nuance of the day, but I think even just like bullet pointing, things like that, it would be really cool to look back on. In the future. Yeah,
and it's so it jumped off. I sort of was able to jump off and do that because I started taking such detailed notes in acting, which started in 2015 with this intensive that I was taking, so it just sort of evolved from that. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Okay, so the first thing that we wanted to do, I think we're gonna start every episode this way, is to honor our name, Underfunded. We're just gonna talk about some things. Some weeks it'll be more than others.
Some products,
but some things that we want, but we can't really afford right now.
Yeah, and it's the first time I heard this, I was like, that's kind of capitalist, and then I was like who cares? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, you can take it as a political statement.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that.
We're not making any political statements.
It just might be fun.
Yeah, it's just fun to talk about things you wish you had. You know?
Yeah.
So I want to start because I'm excited.
Just can't quite afford right now.
But one thing that I really want. That I cannot afford, and also I just want to say really quick, every week is probably gonna be something dumb that I'm not gonna
absolutely
like these are luxuries.
That's the fun
here. But something that I want that's pretty expensive that I'm probably not gonna buy. Maybe I'll ask for Christmas. Is that sounded so childish. Like, I'll ask my mom.
That's Santa, man.
Santa. No, I want to.
Shout out to Santa board. For real.
Santa, my guy.
Santa Claus, that is.
No, but I want a boosted board like to use throughout the city. No, I'm being serious. Like, I think they're so cool. No, I think they're cool. Like,
that's great.
I think they're effective.
Don't break yourself.
And they're expensive.
They are very expensive.
They're like $300, but like it's just cool that like you can make it go fast and like.
You are a child. I want to make it go fast.
No, I think it is an effective way to get around the city.
Yeah.
People are gonna ask, so yes, I do watch Casey Neistat. That is not the reason I want to boost the board.
Shout out Casey Neistat.
But no, I think those are super cool. I kind of want one of those. I think that'd be fun for Florida and New York.
Natalie's been telling me about this for a while, actually.
I really want one.
And mostly the reason you're trying to pitch to me to get me on board is that it's good for stabilizing shots for film, which is fair. That's totally fair.
True.
But I have a skateboard, like a real one.
Yeah, but yes. So that's why I want it. What do you want?
Man, I've been thinking about this. Black Friday just came and went.
Yes, I missed it.
I know. I didn't miss it. I spent a lot of time on the internet staring at things, and I was like, am I really going to do this? Am I really going to do it this time? And I just didn't. I didn't press the button at all, and I'm really upset about that. I was up at like 11:45 on Cyber Monday, going from Monday to Tuesday. That night, and I was like looking at these pants online, and I was like, I'm going to do it, and I didn't do it. But that's not the thing I wanted to talk about. There is an incredibly beautiful clothing company called Evan Kenori. He's based in San Francisco, and he makes really, really just like beautiful looking clothing. It's like kind of in the like workwear. I'm a skateboarder if you couldn't tell. It's kind of in the workwear skateboarder type thing, but it's very well sourced. All the fabric is very, very nice, and really the people who I've heard talking about the brand say that those clothes have lasted them as long as they've had them, up to 6 or 7 years, and they know that they're going to last them for like the rest of their lives. And I'm just really into like clothes right now that will last me for the rest of my life. I'm kind of into that stuff. Stuff I can like pass down to my kids. So Evan Kenori makes these beautiful, beautiful trousers. And I really want like an olive green, just like pleated trouser, and I'll do it exactly as Evan Kenori wants, and that's the designer as well. It's his name. And I will roll them twice at the ankle and wear them with white socks and hard bottom shoes.
Whole look planned out.
God, I dream about it. But that's something that I'm really into, awesome. That I cannot afford because they're in, if not the 200s, the 300s and $400.
Yeah,
because he makes pretty much everything by hand.
I really like this segment. I think it's cool. I think it's a good way to honor like just cool things happening in the world.
It also I don't think it'll also like get us. I think it'll also tell people what we're kind of into and what we think about a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because that's like the fact is we live in a society that's like people are into products and clothing and services. Yeah. So.
Fun stuff. I really like this segment. I want to go to this next segment. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm good.
So this next segment, we're just incorporating like 2 or 3 in this podcast. There'll be more, but one podcast one segment that I'm really interested in is teaching each other's things, or like talking about things that the other person wasn't aware of before, like didn't know, just stuff like that. So I have something that I would love to talk to you about. Great. That I would imagine you don't know much about. I'm sure we all know something about this topic. So I went home for the Thanksgiving break for about a week, as that has just passed, and I was sitting with my friend who is in college right now at I think it's Florida Institute of Technology. I'm from Florida, and he's studying astrobiology there. So the kid's a genius. You know what I mean?
So like the biology of the solar system, or like
no,
stars?
it's like astronomy meets biology. Like they kind of
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like
that's really cool.
The stars and life. I that may be a little incorrect, but I know that's like the basis of things, and that's always how he kind of simply explains it to me. Fact check me on that, but I believe that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's like those two worlds colliding. So with that, he's taking all these super complex classes, and also he's just a super smart guy and knows a lot of things. So we got into this conversation. I don't remember how it originated, but we were talking about the universe, and we really got into like the quantum side of things and just like all of the theories about it. We really started talking about things that don't actually exist, but they're kind of true. So one of the more interesting conversations that we had was dimensions. And so he was saying we obviously live in like the third dimension, you know what I mean? Like everything is 3D, like we can see it. But he was saying with that, we actually, whichever dimension you're in, you can only see up to the dimension below it. So what that means is we are 3D creatures who see in 2D. And how he explained that is like, if at any moment of your life you took a screenshot of like what your eyes physically were seeing, you're only really seeing it in 2D. And if you think about that, basically what that means is I'm looking at Aaron, but I can't see the back of his head. So I'm seeing the front of him.
Right.
And he was saying the only reason we can tell that things are 3D in the way that we can right now is because of shadows of the light.
That's wild.
So that's the only reason things appear 3D is because shadows tell us, oh, there's more dimension to this, there's depth and width and all that. So I thought that was so interesting. And just beyond that, sorry to be talking for so long.
No, I'm just like, I'm like tripping out over here. Continue.
So then he was explaining like, I find space and all of that stuff just in the universe like so fascinating. But beyond that, he was saying, so I was like, okay, so then what is like, is there a fourth dimension? Like, because all we know is the third, and then with that first and second, but like, you know what I mean? And he was saying, based on studies, whatever, you know, it can go all the way up to 11th, I think. He said there's up to 11 dimensions, and I'm sure it could get bigger and bigger, but whatever. And basically, it's like...
Is that like what we know of at this point?
Yeah, okay. Like through theory, we can like theorize up to an 11th dimension.
But we don't know for sure.
And I mean, seriously, do some research on this, because I don't want to butcher it now, because I'm just regurgitating stuff that he already was like regurgitating to me.
Right.
But essentially how it would work is like the fourth dimension, or maybe it's the fifth, one of those, would be like a timeline of just like everything that's happened. And then like the fifth dimension is like the timeline is like, the fifth dimension becomes like time travel, where you can like then pick out moments that you want to go to. So if the fourth is the timeline, the fifth is like going to, or maybe it's the fifth, you know what I mean? These might be a little off number wise. But eventually it keeps building and building and building, and more events, up until the 11th dimension. He was like, essentially that would be like where if there was like a god or some god like entity, that's where a god would exist in the 11th dimension, because like that's where everything is, the entire universe, everything that's ever happened, and like being able to like transport yourself there and know what's going on and see everything at once is where the 11th dimension kind of lies. And it was so trippy to just talk about the universe in this way. And like it's like all of this stuff is like really how it works, but also there could not even be a fourth dimension. Like I could be, you know what I mean? Like it's all theory. But
no, that's what's so interesting is like with the 11th dimension, especially like you think of like that's kind of, to me it sounds like that's kind of where religion and science and like I don't know, kind of weird hippie type stuff, like all combines into one thing. That's very interesting. And like it's also where everything would combine into one thing in general. That's really interesting.
It's crazy. It was blowing my mind. I really one day like want to have on this podcast just someone who knows more about that stuff and just talk about like being a person and what that means actually, because life is insane. And just one super quick last thing. The other thing he told me is like, based on the patterns, because they're like everything in life is like based on a pattern. Like, and also everything in life can be based on numbers, which is where the whole simulation thing comes in. Right. Crazy. Right. But the one of the other things that I found really interesting to him was like, the whole point of like nature as it's been leading up to this moment like has been to create life. So like we are what we as humans are like what nature has been working towards. And that like sounds so narcissistic.
And what's really awful about that is now we're like destroying.
And now we're destroying nature because we don't care. Oh man. Yeah. Fact check everything I said. Believe what you want to believe, but like research the universe, man. It is insane. I love learning about it, and also terrifies me.
Yeah. Well, what's cool about this segment in general is that we can like sort of be a jumping off point for people to do their own research if they're really interested in something that we talk about. So
and also for each other.
Please do. And if you have stuff that you want to send us that you think is interesting,
oh my God, I love
about these topics that we bring up, please, we'd love that. That'd be really cool. We'll shout you out, absolutely.
Aaron will hopefully one day be teaching me how to skateboard, but we can't.
That's not something we can do in here.
Okay, so just this next segment, it's gonna be a little weird, but the next part of the podcast, which we'll be doing in some weeks, is things that Natalie doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah, Natalie and I were chatting. This is actually an invention of mine. Yes, Natalie and I were talking. We were sort of like doing a beta version of what we're doing today, and we came across a lot of things Natalie didn't want to talk about. And every now and then she'd just be like, I don't want to talk about that. And I'd be like, all right, fine. But when are we going to talk about that? And
just some things I'm like, I can't put my opinion out because then people are going to know how I feel. And sometimes it gets muddled, you know?
Yeah.
I change my mind constantly.
That was what was interesting is that like when we said that, I sort of was like, I realized like we're going to do this podcast together where we bring a lot of stuff to the table. Like, how does that work? Not that like, are you really able to do this? But more like, what does that look like for us? And what we sort of landed on was that like this could be a place where you come to terms with some of those things and maybe put some opinions out there that maybe you change, maybe not. Who knows? And that's like I'm here to support you in that.
But beyond that, like thank you.
Of course.
But beyond that, we also just think it'll be hilarious for Aaron to be like, okay, well, we need to talk about
today.
This.
We're gonna talk about something that Natalie doesn't want to talk about. Yeah.
So this segment about talking about things I don't want to talk about should just be hilarious.
So, pretty soon in our relationship, Natalie revealed to me that Twitter is a big part of Natalie's life, and Twitter's not something that I like. Like I have a Twitter, and I guess I use it. I don't really like. I'm one of the most embarrassing Twitter users ever. But I was very interested in this whole world, and Natalie wouldn't tell me what her Twitter handle was, and then. Earlier, not even 2 hours ago, Natalie says, I have a bunch of Twitters with like, a lot of followers. And I was like, what? I didn't know this about you. And then we're sitting in the studio setting up, and she's like, yeah, there's some. One of the accounts is, what did you say? It was like.
It was 14.1K. So
14.1K. 14,000 people follow Natalie's Twitter. I don't even like hung out with 14,000 people in my life. So like, that's all I've got to say about that. But I just want you to expound.
Explain.
I'm really happy to find out about this.
So, okay. This is a lot, and I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Okay. When I was growing up, and still today, a big thing of mine that I found fun was to create businesses or startup ideas. I would always have these money-making ideas. Like, I would be like, man, I want money. And instead of like working because I was too young, I would come up with ways to like create businesses that I could actually do. With that came like the marketing of said businesses. And so essentially where this all stems from is like me having really weird ideas and then being like my 12-year-old self, being like, okay, well, I'm going to create a Twitter for it and get a lot of followers. And how I would do that is a couple different ways. I do want to clarify, I have never bought Twitter followers for my Twitter, like my personal Twitter. I don't
want to drag your name through the mud here. This is a real follower.
Like I like my personal Twitter is very much like just my friends that I've acquired over time. So I want to clear that up. But when I was like 12, I would have fan accounts, and then like so I had a fan account for this band, and then someone was like, oh, I have an account that someone can have.
Can you tell us
no.
the band? We'll get into that later.
So someone was like, I have an account with a band member's follow who wants it, and nobody was tweeting them about it, and so me on my fan account I was like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. So I took that Twitter, and so then I had a Twitter with a lot of follows because someone gave it to me, and it had a band member that I cared about at the time, whatever. But then I also had that old fan account that suddenly had like a decent amount of followers, whatever. Where the meat of the story really comes in, I had this wonderful idea not too long ago. It was like in high school. I know I'm just starting my first year of college. So shout
out to high school, man. Shout out to high school.
Oh man. But so I had this great idea. I kept seeing these anime accounts on Twitter that like would sell anime merchandise, and they were rich, man. And I was like, you know what? Why can't I design anime t-shirts? That is so easy. So through this, I started an anime Twitter. And I would just tweet generic anime tweets about, like, Naruto or whatever. Because I've watched a couple of animes. I'm not too into the culture, though.
Wait, so what you're telling me is... what you're telling me is...
Yeah.
You... not an avid fan of anime.
I'm like a normal. Like, I've watched a couple, and I've
Do you know
watched
what they call
more.
those?
What?
Normies.
Normies? Are you serious?
I think that's what that's for. I don't actually know. I don't know what to say. But essentially, you, an average sort of, actually not really a fan, a consumer of anime and such that like you're aware of animes and you kind of watch them.
Yeah.
Created an entire business surrounding that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, and like honestly where it stemmed from was like, oh, I'm gonna take advantage of the weebs and like I'm gonna like make merch for weeaboos and blah blah blah, and I don't know where my head was at. But with this, yes.
What's a weeaboo?
A weeaboo is someone who like, to my understanding, it's someone who like wants to.
Oh, like a fake fan.
Like no, they like want to be like Japanese and stuff. They like learn like the language and like all this stuff to like become like
white kids,
Japanese, and like move all this stuff. That's my understanding of weeaboos. I'm sure other people have a different.
I don't know if that was like a
conception on
like
that,
but noob thing. I don't.
So that was my brain, and and through that, I created this anime Twitter, and I was tweeting stuff, whatever, and getting followers and whatever ways, following a bunch of people or like buying followers. I didn't spend a lot of money. I would spend like $1, or like I would pay a guy $1 to like retweet my thing, and he had a lot of followers. It's the grind, So. Then,
there's no shame in that.
Then
I just want you to be aware of that. Like, there's like spending a lot of money to get all of the followers that you end up with.
Yeah.
And there's like
spending $1 here.
There's like you said, like asking someone, hey man, I did this thing. Do you have a lot of followers? And they're down with that. Like making making a business exchange. Like that's a different thing. I just want to lay that out there.
So it was $1. I spent like maybe $4 on this business in total.
That's insane. That's really impressive.
So how I did it was I used some free t-shirt website to like create the t-shirts, and then people would buy them. I would get a percentage. The company would get a percentage. Whatever. Really easy. Anybody can do that. But so where it really got interesting was I spent $50 because some kid was like, hey, I saw you're trying to buy this account, because he was selling it. It was an anime account. It's like, I saw you're trying to buy this account. Like you can buy it. And I was like, great. He's like, $50. I'm like, oh, lit. So I give him $50. I send him $50. My dumbass, he's not even texting me from that same account. It was some random guy scheming me.
Oh my
so
God.
He gets my money.
Oh my God.
And then I'm like, give me the account. And he's like, nah, like you gotta wait, like whatever. So I'm like, I just got scammed out of $50.
How old are you?
I was like 14.
Jesus.
No, I was not. I was really probably like
this guy wasn't
15, 16.
This guy wasn't aware you were.
I was older. I'm not gonna lie. This is maybe junior year.
All right.
I was just being dumb. So I give this guy $50, and he's like, oh, I don't have it. So then I know I got scammed. So I take screenshots of everything. I'm tagging the real account, and I'm like, this guy sucks. Don't do business with him. He's a liar. So then everybody's like, the followers that I did have start flaming this guy, and I'm like, yo, this is getting some steam. So then that guy's under a lot of pressure to like do something about this. So he hits me up, and he's like, yo, take down your tweets. I'm going to get you your money back. Like, that guy's not my guy. You're an idiot. I'm going to get you the $50 back. Delete your tweet. So I'm like, I'll delete the tweet when I get my money. So he texts that guy. He's like, come on, man, don't be an idiot. Guy sends me the $50 back, right? And this is like after I had a claim with PayPal and all this stuff. Like, guy sends me the $50 back, and he's like, I'm sorry, like I shouldn't have done, because they're all just kids like me, you know what I mean? Like these aren't adults behind the screen. So it's just some other idiot trying to steal money from me.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So then through all of that, someone hit me up and was like, hey, I feel bad that you got scammed. Like, here's a $14K account. And they gave me an account.
Wait, some random person.
Some kind weeaboo.
Wow. Some kind weeaboo. Shout out to all the weeaboos.
Just truly shout out to the weeaboos. Oh, actually, wait, no, I don't think people like weeaboos. Shout out to people who watch anime.
Sure.
I think weeaboo's a bad thing. I'm not sure. Educate us on weeaboos.
You said weeaboo a lot of times, so now it's like a part of the podcast.
So that's me.
That's cool. Wait, I have a few questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
let's dissect this.
Your parents knew about this?
No.
None of it.
I did not.
Not the Twitters, not the $50, none of it.
No,
wow.
I didn't tell them. Because I think at this point I did have a job, but I wanted to make it like it was like a side hustle.
Yeah.
They did not know. I didn't tell them that I got scammed because I was scared my dad was going to be mad at me.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And when I did tell him after I got the money back, he was mad at me.
I bet he was. Yeah, I'd be pissed off. Like when I was younger, it was doing social media for me was so difficult because my parents were like they're just very worried about who was out there.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, they understand technology to an extent, but they're not like that. That's just not a thing that they understood. And it took me to like a point where I was watching some people on YouTube and like on the internet who had like a really positive influence and message that they were like, oh, this is a cool thing. Like it took them till then, and now like when I know when I put up stuff about what I'm up to on my Instagram story or things like that, they're like, oh great, my mom watches. My dad got an Instagram account when I moved to New York so he could see what's up.
Nice.
He doesn't use Instagram.
Yeah,
at all.
when I first started Instagram, it was definitely like my account needs to be on private, like everyone's gonna see. But I think while there is dangerous parts of social media, and we definitely need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you get the younger kids on there, like I think once you become a teenager, you kind of know how to handle yourself. But like for younger kids who it's more accessible to them, I think you got to be careful with those things. But I think for the most part, social media is changing and to be different and be more positive. Just overall.
I hope so, and I think that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah, so
thanks for throwing that out there.
Yeah, so that's my anime story. That's really why I have a lot of and I'm gonna keep it real. I don't know yet, but maybe our underfunded podcast might use one of those Twitters with a lot of followers.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be using the anime Twitter.
The one with 14K. If we have 14,000 followers on our Twitter but no listens, you know why?
Wait, we should do a spin-off podcast that's just anime, but we don't know. Like I don't know anything about anime.
Anything about it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
we're just like I don't know. I don't know what we do.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up. I think we're trying to keep. Yeah, sorry about the background noise.
People
are being loud. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I think that like we're trying to keep the episodes as of now pretty short and sweet, maybe 30 to 45 minutes apiece, so it's convenient for all of our friends to be able to listen to them. And just as I said in the beginning, I think this is going to definitely grow and develop. So bear with us, and if you think we're interesting in the slightest, stay with us because it'll probably get better, I would hope. But I'm going to turn it over to Aaron. We got a couple of shout-outs, a couple of end things to address. And,
I just want to throw a couple things out there. First of all, I just wanted to plug some stuff for myself.
Yeah, the boy.
My Instagram is Blue Ogden, and that's my sort of like, it's my production company. It's what if I write a screenplay, it's BLUOGDEN. So if you Google that, you'll find I sound like such an idiot. My SoundCloud.
Yeah.
I'm not a SoundCloud rapper. Please don't go there expecting such things.
But you produce music.
I do produce music. It's sort of the way that I put it to a lot of people is it's like doodling. It's not a serious art career unless it people enjoy it and they think that it should be, then I'll probably start taking it more seriously. It's just sort of something that I do to get more creative energy out. It's pretty convenient for me. So I just put out a collection of songs. You can call it an album if you want. It's all instrumentals. It's called Tech. So if you Google Blue Ogden or you go to my Instagram under the same name, you can click on the link in the bio.
And that was just released today.
That was today. But by the time this is out, it'll be probably
like a week ago.
Probably a week ago or so. So go check that out if you're interested. I also wanted to plug our Twitter and Instagram, which are a new facet of this whole fun experience.
Yes.
You can find us at Underfunded Pod, and
on Instagram and Twitter.
On Instagram and Twitter, and feel free to email us at underfundedpodcast@gmail.com with cool stuff about the universe or anything.
Yes.
If you're interested in talking some stuff you want us to talk about, or maybe you have a topic of discussion that you're interested in from our perspective, feel free to send us that. We also want to say thank you to Danica Jackson for helping us produce the podcast. It's been a huge help,
Danica.
helping us get the rooms, helping us figure out all the equipment and make sure that we have our all the audio equipment working. And Kenzie Wilkin for helping us out with social media. That's a big help to us. And these people are our friends, and it means a lot when your friends help you guys out with a project like this. Yeah. It's a big help. It means a lot to us. Also,
Aaron made the music in the beginning.
Yeah.
That you heard.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that'll stay. Maybe it'll change.
Yeah, we'll see.
So,
thank you guys for listening to this first one.
Thank you so much.
Means the world, really.
Share it if you can.
Share it if you can. Share it if you're interested. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. If you didn't like it, we just want those. We'll take those hate listens. We're down. But thank you guys for supporting us on this.
Yeah.
We're excited to see where this goes. I think we're gonna do episodes every other week. So every 2 weeks, expect them in your little podcast inbox.
All right, we are broke, kind of. This has been Underfunded.
Good Lord. Take care, y'all. Have a good one.